Hey everybody, welcome back to Richard's Toy Room once again. Today we have a pretty cool little vintage toy here. I've been after this one for a while. Usually every time I've seen one come up, something broken on it, something missing on it. So this one, as far as I can tell from the information that I can gather online, this looks to be complete. It's only missing the sticker on the hood, and I will be looking into getting some sort of a replacement for that at some point. But in the meantime, I like all my vintage toys to, well, basically work. So I don't usually like buying stuff just it'd be like buying like one of those Victrolas with no guts in it. You're just got a cabinet there to look at. I mean, what sense is that, at least to me? I mean, if you're going to have a Victrola, you want to be able to play Victrola records on it. So if you have a vintage toy that's electric and should be able to be driven, such as this remote controlled Jeep, then you want it to work. So that's what we're going to attempt to do in this video. Now, here's the controller. It's got two buttons here. One goes that way and one goes that way. I'm assuming one is forward and one is reverse. And then this is supposed to steer the wheels. It feels a little tight. It probably just needs some lubrication, I'm hoping. But as you can see from me pressing these buttons, this thing doesn't do anything. Now, we're assuming that power is getting to the motor. And usually with these older toys that are motor driven, the motor just stops working, like the brushes get dirty or whatever, and they sit in one spot, and it's just nothing is powerful enough to kick it over with these 3 volts of batteries. Sometimes you can jump from with a 9 volt and get enough juice to that thing to get going, and I might try that, mainly because this one here, surprisingly, I've never seen another toy like it from this era. It's riveted together for some reason. I don't see any screws anywhere to take this apart, and I don't see any other way to get to the mechanism or anything underneath here. In fact, I'm not even 100% sure how this bottom comes off. I mean, all I see are these 2 rivets right here, and I think there's a little slot back here that the black part slides into the green body. So, I mean, there's a chance that maybe I can pry this part back here open and be able to bend it up enough, but I may end up having to drill these rivets out and replace them with maybe some screws or something. But I guess we'll have to see. But for now, this I'll show you some of the things about this. It has this little clear compartment back here that the door pops open. This is one thing that's usually missing or broken. And then these, as far as I know, just these 3 tools came with it. You get, or these 4 tools I should say. You get a shovel, you get a pick, you get, I think this is like a handle for this, what is apparently some sort of a jack or something. It doesn't do anything except you can move this plunger up and down. I'm guessing maybe it will hold the car up. I don't think so because it's heavy, but let's see. No, I didn't think so. I mean, it will because it doesn't go down any farther than that. But underneath here, there's also holes for all these things to go into. Like, looks like the jack goes there. And I'm guessing probably this jack handle probably goes next to the jack. And then probably just doesn't matter, but shovel. And then the pick, I guess to keep them from bouncing around when you're playing with it, if I can get it in the hole. Okay, I don't know why it doesn't want to go in. Try it over here. All right. That hole seems to be a little too small. It almost fits. Anyway, you get the idea. Just kind of sit back in there like that. So, I guess let's see what we can do with this and see if we can get it working. Oh, actually, now the more I look at this, unfortunately, it looks like this may be glued together. That doesn't mean I can't get it apart. Just means it's a little bit difficult because now I'm looking. I think these rivets are actually just holding this steering mechanism in place. Oh, it's also, I believe the lights are supposed to light up on the front here, which they don't do anything either with the switch. So, I mean, maybe there's no power coming out of this thing at all. But there's a clip on the front and a clip on the back. And then it looks like possibly some clips, or maybe they might just be locating tabs on the side. But they're underneath these seats, it looks like. Oh no, yeah, they're actual, yeah, they're clips. I don't know what the glue is going to do. How difficult it's going to be to separate the glue from this, because I do not want to break it. Okay, so I totally disassembled all the loose parts. The windshield, which I'll clean. Obviously you saw me take the seats. I accidentally knocked the steering wheel off. It didn't break, but I think originally it was put in and a little heat was applied to the behind to hold it in, but I mean, it will still stay, and I'll just maybe put a dab of glue on there if I need to and hold it on. I'm not overly concerned about that. I hit it with my hand by mistake. Spare tire comes off, just pulls out. So that was, I don't know how long I've been working on that. I didn't look at the time, but it feels like it's probably been about an hour. But good Lord, that was a pain in the you-know-what. So the black part was like really glued, especially where these little tabs went on all four sides here. They were glued pretty good there. So I think I managed to not break two of the tabs, or one and a half of them anyway. Not overly concerned with that, because if need be, it can just be glued back together and it'll hold just fine. But I was trying not to break anything visible. So, but yeah, it was glued pretty good, surprisingly. But it still came apart with minimal damage, and nothing that will be visible when it's all put back together anyway. So anyhow, so now I've separated the top from the body here. The headlights are wired in here, so that's going to be a little bit difficult to work on here. Let's see if I can pull this bumper off. I can probably get a little bit more room to work. Alright, so I should be able to lay this body down. Now, I did find this piece in the box, or in the vehicle, whatever you want to call it. It's like a little piece of wire. It looks like it's got solder or something on it. I'm not even sure what the heck that is on the end there. And I'm thinking it came off of something on here. And now the more I look at it, I think it's probably the end of the cable that probably broke off. I'm trying to find it here. And that's exactly what it is. So this came off. That's why the wheels weren't turning, because there was nothing connected to them to turn. So yeah, that was in the front here. So I'll have to figure out a way to either stretch that wire or replace it. I ran into this with one of the motorcycles before, and it was not fun. I could not find the correct diameter wire to work with this. So we'll see what we come up with. But anyway, I can see the motor and gears and everything now. Well, this had to come apart anyway if I wanted it to steer. So no matter if it was just a matter of something in this controller or not, there's no way this was going to steer. So I have, this will come out. I just got to break the glue on this side to get this out of the way. This is the footwell in the car, and I'll need to access that down there. But I was trying to be real careful to try to get, I mean, I was working them very, very carefully, but just because of the glue, it just, they didn't want to break free without completely breaking off this front tube. This one I got off good. This one I got half of it. So, I mean, it'll hold down just with those two if need be. Usually these things come apart so easy. And of course, the last two videos I've done where I'm telling you you have to bust this glue apart have been built by somebody that was working that day. They were glue crazy. Good God, this one just does not want to come out. You know, I have a theory on this, that if I was to put more liquid cement on here, maybe it would seep down and loosen the old cement and I could pull it apart easier. I didn't want to try that on these parts that were visible, but this you can't see. So I'm wondering if I might try just putting a little of that glue in there and seeing if that'll just work itself free. That sort of worked. I did break a chunk off of it, but when I glue it back in, it'll never show. So I'm going to get these wires off here, just so I have room to work on this thing. I was going to grab a 9-volt battery, but now I'm kind of hesitating to do that because light bulbs, they only take, most of them can only accept a certain amount of voltage before they'll blow. So I don't want to do a 9-volt test on this, even though I know it would work for the motor. Alright, so I'll get some jumper wires. Actually, it works. So the battery terminals need cleaning, it would appear. Moving the batteries around. And I can see the lights both lighting up. So I have to fix this cable to steer it. And I think we're cleaning it all up, oiled the motor, greased up the gears, and the steering up here. And we'll be good to go. Well, that's good. So it actually does work. It needs a lot less work than I thought. I was just getting this body apart was a nightmare. These actual shafts are both cracked. So there's no way to glue this kind of plastic. So what I'll have to do is I'll have to just epoxy the crack together just to make it a little more sturdy. If there was a little more room, I'd just put a clamp on the end of them. But I'll have to score the end of these shafts the axle shafts and then glue the wheels on. Otherwise, I mean, it'll still probably work. It just won't turn as easy. I mean, it won't turn as easy. The tires could slip when it's driving. Not that I'm going to play with it that much, but there's no need for me to show you, gluing wheels and oiling up the motor and greasing up the gears and stuff. When I figure out how I'm going to fix the cable mechanism, I will come back on camera and show you what I did or how I'm going to do it. The only other thing I'm not quite sure about is if this front wheel is loose or if it's supposed to be like that. It just seems a little, this front suspension just seems a little loose, but I don't know what I could do about it. It's all riveted together. Okay, we're back. Now, so what I've done off camera is I cleaned all the connections inside the switch here, the battery terminal and down in here, and I pulled the rear wheels off. And I'm going to glue the cracked axles with the epoxy, and then I'm going to score up these axle shafts and then epoxy them onto the axle shafts. And in here, so now these are all cleaned up and everything worked good. Now, I haven't oiled and greased up the motor or anything like that yet. Now, in the controller here, as you can see, I've taken it apart and here's the end of the cable. Now, the other end, I've actually taken the whole cable out. I pulled it out from here back to the switch. And since the cable's broken, this is a special kind of wire. It's like piano wire. It's not like, I mean, you can bend it and kink it and everything, but it's got kind of like a spring to it. And that's what you need, this like kind of hard kind of type wire. Well, I happen to have lying around what I tried to use last time is this. This is actually from an electric welder, this wire here. And it's the same thickness and it's the same type of like kind of springy, like piano wire type wire. I mean, you can get it at, I've seen it at Ace Hardware, they sell it in lengths, but they're usually not long enough to do these toys because they come in like a max of like something like 2 feet or something. And then after that, you have to buy like a 50-foot roll or something like that. It's ridiculous. So anyhow, this is a different diameter than the one they use on the motorcycles for action jacks and dynamite. So I tried it on that and it wouldn't really work. It was really too tight inside the conduit that the cable goes in, but this is perfect. And so I just ran it through the cable and just hooked it up temporarily just so I could see if it would work. And as you can see, it does. I mean, it's kind of hard to pull like this without any torque. But what I'm going to do is, now I'm going to pull it back out. I was unable to really tighten up this front suspension either, and I don't want to pop all the rivets out and do all that. I mean, it's not bad. It's just, it's got some play in it, but I think it'll still be okay. I think it'll still run fine. I tried squeezing some of the rivets to tighten them. I was able to do that with this one that the cable hooks up to, but I can't really get any tools underneath to do the 2x the wheels. Anyhow, but I'll grease all that up so it all moves freely when before we put it all back together and glue the body back on. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull this cable back out, and then I'm going to apply some grease to the cable and work it in back and forth so that there's grease inside the cable conduit that keeps it, moving nice and smoothly before I put it back together. That'll help a lot also. One other thing I found while I was working on this is this motor assembly, the bracket here is kind of coming up on one side. The way it's attached is it slides under two pegs, or whatever you want to call them, on this side, and then there's two posts that it goes down on this side, and then we were just peened over with like a hot soldering iron or something to keep it in place. Well, those peens have broken off the top, so what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to drill little holes in the bosses that remain under here, and put some small like sheet metal or type screws to keep this tight on here, because otherwise it could possibly break free. And I don't want to have to take it all apart again, so I might as well do it all now while I have it apart. That's just really pretty much tedious work that doesn't really need to be shown on camera. So I will fix this. I will get the cable inserted and all attached up. It's got to be reattached up on this end of the switch here. And I'll get everything all greased up, oil up the motor so it's quiet, and then we'll come back as we put it back together. Okay, so what we've done so far is I've drilled two little holes and found two little screws that would fit in here to tighten this up so it's not going to rock and crack and break free of that. And I found, where are they, over here, two tie straps. What I'm going to do with those is on these, which one's the bad one? I mean, they're both cracked. This one's the worst one. So I'm going to basically tie this tie strap around the end of the axle. Whoop. The end of the axle like this. And that went flying across the room. A little hard to do this and show it on camera, but basically I'm going to tie it around the end of the axle and pull it tight, cut the excess off, and then I'm going to fill the crack with glue, and I'm also going to put glue underneath the tie strap so it doesn't move. Not that it probably will, but it'll be in here like that, so the end of it is not going to interfere with anything, and it should keep it from spinning on the axle, if you know, at all, when we're all done with that. So anyway, on this front suspension here, I was able to get this front wheel off here, and it's not broken, but it was, you know, on this, obviously this pin. I can't get the pin out unless I grind these little nubs off, but I'm not going to do that. I was kind of able to get in here with like some pliers, like this, and kind of squeeze the rivets together so just to take the really bad slop out of them. I think that's good enough. I mean, it's definitely improved. It doesn't have nearly as much slop in it. So I'm going to put this all back together now, and I don't think there's anything else to really show you other than the final result. So I already told you what I'm going to do. I got this, maybe I didn't. I got this white lithium lube. That's what I'm going to use to lube the gears and the axles and the new cable that I'm going to install. So I was going to use Teflon grease, but I just happened to see this while I was down getting some other stuff, and I thought, you know, this will work just as well. So yeah, there's nothing else that needs fixing other than what I already told you. So next you see it, we should be doing a demonstration on it. All right then, so she is 99.9% done. The only thing that's missing right now is I need the sticker that goes across the hood. Somehow that fell off in its previous life somewhere and has disappeared. So I don't know if you can see this in the camera, but I decided that I mean, not that I'm going to play with it that much, but I am going to do a video of this outside in the, not the dirt, but yeah, I guess the dirt, grass, that kind of area. And I don't want the figures to fall out, because I know they will, because there's like no kind of real seat in here to keep them in, or stores or anything. So I just took 2 pieces of the same elastic that I used to restring Type 1 Megos, and I just basically just made a loop and tied it in the back and ran it around the chair back here, and so each one has their own little elastic thing. I'll show you real quick. I just have a figure I'm working on here for custom. So basically you just kind of stick their feet through like so. Then they're in, and see, they won't really fall out when you're driving it. So, and then there's no alteration to the vehicle at all, so they come right off. All you have to do is, well, you can probably just pull them off, but there's a little knot behind there that kind of keeps it from being completely pulled off. So these seats just pop right out. So if you ever wanted to just take them out and get rid of them, it's as simple as 2 seconds. But I thought, and plus they're white, so they don't really show as much. I was going to use black flat elastic, but and it probably would have, fit just a little better flush against where these are sitting in the back here. But I thought they'd stand out a little more, and I'd rather have the ones that you can barely even see. So you can see everything cleaned up. Here's the tools in the back here. That is hitting the spare tire thing. There we go. I shined it up with some polish, so it looks nice now. And you can see, you can't even tell that I had this thing apart. And like I said, I'll give you a demonstration outside, but real quick right now, you can see the tires. It's steerable very easily. See the headlights. So stay tuned for an action Jackson outside adventure. We'll have to see who he wants to take with him in the passenger seat. So I thought before I did the final outdoor Action Jackson traveling across the wilderness or whatever video, I thought I'd do a little clip of the Jeep at night so you could actually see the headlights, because you wouldn't be able to see them during the day. So I'm just going to do this real short clip of Action Jackson driving towards the camera.